5.5 minutes after 7 o'clock in Trinidad and Tobago as we continue into the second hour of Morning Edition on this Wednesday. And I know it's some really heavy stuff that we're dealing with so far this morning. So let me just lighten the mood with something, because the Defence Force issued a media release on Monday. They took time away from shining shoes and polishing medals to say that the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force wishes to advise that it is fully cooperating with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in its investigations of the drug Susu. Additionally, the TTDF has launched an internal investigation into the possible involvement and alleged misconduct of Defence Force members. The reason it's a nice bit of light-hearted activity is that if this is anything like the way they conducted themselves in the cover-up of the two children in the shooting range, and the way the report disappeared and the police were not able to access it, well, they'll have more time to be shining shoes. In fact, they could say that. They said they have no time to follow because they had to shine shoes and polish medals at Defence Force headquarters. But thanks very much for that anyway. Let's move along. For parents, any sudden change in the environment for your children is always an area of concern. The challenges of online learning are not only affecting teachers, but parents and even the students, obviously, adjusting to new ways of learning. Can we help parents and students with their adjustments, and what is the possible impact on their socialization and developmental skills? Well, we're joined now by Hanif Benjamin, clinical psychologist, former chairman of the Children's Authority, with us this morning. Mr. Benjamin, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Faziri, clinical therapist and clinical traumatologist. I don't want to get in trouble now.
All right, well, let's make sure we get the title corrected, because these things are very important, and indeed, we don't want to misrepresent you in any way. In clinical therapist and traumatologist, yes. So let's make sure we get it correct. What's your sense of this online learning environment and the challenges that are being faced, whether it's the child, whether it's the parent, the teachers, and so on? What is your sense of this?
Faziri, let's start with the reality. The realities, as I call it. This is neither equity or equality. Let's just start there. There is no equality, nor we have equity in this matter. We have a situation where a great number of students have now been thrust into this newness. Parents have been thrust into this newness. Teachers have been thrust into this newness. And so at this point, everybody's trying to find their way through this dark tunnel that COVID-19 has placed us in. What are the best options? What are the things that we can do? What are the things we can help people with? Let me start with talking about the reality. The reality is we still have a lot of students who has no access to online learning. That platform, whether it is an internet, whether it is computer, whether it is an internet, computer, and a teacher to teach. We also have a situation where a great number of our students have to pick up a packet and have to go home to do this packet with sometimes a parent who is functionally literate and someone cannot teach them. And so they are literally trying to teach and learn themselves and wait for the packet to come back. We also have a situation where, as you pointed out in the opening of your show, a parent has to work. You have 4 children, 4 schools, 4 different standard or classes. What do you do at that point, right? If you are a teacher, you also have children going to school. Who is helping them through this difficulty? If you are a parent, you have to work, you don't know what to do, you have to get somebody to look after the children, especially if the children are at a younger age. We are asking students, Fazir, to all of a sudden become an admin expert. Check emails, send email, upload email, send this, do that. All of these things are anomalous to people because it's not real, it's not what we are accustomed to. And what these things have been doing, Fazir, is causing severe emotional and psychological impact. I have seen in the last month an increase in the number of parents calling my office at the Center for Human Development in relation to depression with children. Children who were ordinarily at the top of their class are struggling. Students are no longer motivated. I have seen teachers in my office who feel as if this has been thrust on them with little to no training and or development, who really don't like the online platform. I have had to deal with parents who have become extremely violent towards their child or children because of the level of frustration that they are facing, trying to explain things. You see, because we want children to just get it. And the problem that I have seen for you, the real problem is the adults in the room are pouncing or getting punitive with the children because they are the ones they sit, study, do your work. And so we are not understanding that the children themselves are in an inordinate amount of pressure right now. First, I want to just draw your attention to a classroom, a blackboard, a teacher walking left or right, a teacher is walking down the aisle. You could get up, you could go to the board. First, in this situation, you are sitting like I am, staring at a screen, and you are sitting staring at me. Many of our children, first, you cannot learn like that. Many of our children feel demotivated, dejected, and they feel as if they don't know what's going to happen. First, I want to put in the mix right now. The biggest challenge that I have seen in the last week is the uncertainty of my Form 4s and Form 5 students who, because of the C.F.T debacle that is going on now, have been plunged into a level of severe anxiety because now they don't know how this exam is going to go, what the results are going to show. They are worried, both parents and teachers. I'll pause at this point.
And Mr. Benjamin, I'm glad you presented all because we're aware of these things. But let's try and give some solutions, because I know that's what you're about: finding solutions, finding ways to cope. Although the point will be made that, look, I mean, this is COVID-19. We never saw this coming. No society has faced this for at least 100 years. So this is unprecedented. And really, the authorities will say, look, we're trying to make the best out of a really desperate situation. What do we do?
And for you, I like that point, because all of what I said before is setting the stage for what I'm about to say. And I want to start with this. We have to be patient, we have to be kind, and we have to be supportive on all ends of the spectrum for zero. That is where the frustration is coming in, because we are not being kind to our teachers. We are not being kind and supportive to our students. We are not being kind and supportive to the system, the education system, as it were. We expect things to be good. We expect a 100% situation of perfectness. That can't happen. And that is why I said this is neither equal or equity, because we have to understand that we are all learning. The problem for you is when one fraction of this triad, I call it, because you have the school or the teacher, you have the parent community, and you have the child. When any one of this fraction seem to be overly dominant on one because they want to push a way forward without being kind and or understanding, we are having situations where parents are becoming overly punitive because they are not understanding what their child or children might be going through. They are not very kind to their teachers because they are not understanding what the teachers might be going through. For Zee, the first thing we need to do is to be kind and understanding to everyone in the system. The other thing is, I feel as if the entity that is responsible for all of these fractions need to come together and be able to provide guidance. The National Parent Teachers Association, right? The school in itself, tutor, the National Principal Association, they need to have an amalgam of communication where they are going to find a way forward. It cannot be that it is one way for one and one way for the other. Because what you will have is chaos, confusion, and pressure. And these things for you lead to a level of frustration, anxiety, and in some instances, violence.
But let's try and give some prescription. I take your point about coming together, but that's not going to happen because this in this country, this is big consultation, nice eats and drinks and so on, and don't do one blimmin' thing as far as fixing the real problems. But let's try and give or parents or students some guidelines, because let's be real as well, Mr. Benjamin. I actually, going down Frederick Street the other day, I saw in a Tongsetta Mall, I think it was, a parent in a little kiosk with her son sitting down there in a cardboard box with the phone, and he's doing his lessons and look very enthusiastic. So parents, not all of them are bad, the majority might be very good, are trying their best in extremely difficult circumstances. What prescriptives would you like to give?
Right. And so I don't think that this is about being good or bad, to be honest. I think that everybody's trying to do their best. So let's take it in stages. Let me start with our parents. I would like parents to be patient. Be patient to self, be patient to your child, and be patient to the system. You need to move away from a punitive punishment style to a supportive, caring style. You need to be supportive of your child, and you need to be supportive of your teacher. When I say support, I don't mean support in a general sense. You need to be very descriptive in your support. You need to ensure that your child is getting the best that they can under the circumstances that you are given. You need, as a parent, to ask for help. If you need help, you need to ask for help. You need to get your social system around you so that they can provide the level of help that you need. Not everybody have that level of support system. And that is why I want to go further to your church, to your community, right? Because we all need to, in times like these, help our students and our parents. You need to form a support network that is critical so that you are able to find out what other parents might be doing in situations like this. I want parents to be able to open and have open dialogue with your child. How are you doing today? What is going on with you? How do you feel? Are you understanding? And if not, take action to help that child. For too long, Fazir, we are sitting and we are hoping that the child does what they need to do. But children need that support from their parents. I want to talk about teachers. Teachers, you too have to be kind to yourself. Be kind to your students. Be kind to the system. Because as I said, it's all new. You need to understand, teachers, how much is too much and how little is too little. How much is too much and how little is too little? Because we have students saying that they are getting an inordinate amount of work that is just unbearable. So teachers need to find a balance between how much they are giving and how little they are giving. But teachers also are parents who too have children. And so you need to strike a balance with your school, with your students in relation to how they are going to get the work, how you are going to manage the work. Teachers need to get the level of professional help that they need to manage their own stressors. So it becomes important for the principals and administrators to provide a support network for teachers. That is critical for zero. It is critical. You need to spend time with teachers, helping them to understand their own emotion, their own level of frustration in relation to the system that we're dealing with. Because I tell you, teachers are frustrated. Parents are messaging them day and night. And that is why I am saying to everybody to be kind, and to be supportive. I want to talk about the children now in two phases. I want to speak about children who does not have access to the online system. You have to go and collect packets now, and you have to do your work. We need to figure out how we can get somebody to help children through this difficulty. Parents, you need to really talk to your children. Open a non-punitive line of communication so that they can tell you, hey, mom, dad, grandma, I feel this way. My schoolwork is lagging behind. I feel anxious because. You need to help them to understand what anxiety means. You need to tell them the signs, whether they feel more demotivated, they don't feel to do the work anymore. You need to explain to them that if they're having problems sleeping, they're having problems eating, those are some simple signs of anxiety stepping in. They're having nightmares about exams and CXC or SCA. Those are real things that you need to talk to your child or children about.
And sorry to interrupt you. I just was coughing there. Sorry about that. But please go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Well, not a problem, Fazir. And Fazir, I want to go to the online system. Fazir, I want you to think about, for a long time, we have been quite punitive with our sons, our daughters, our children, because they spend too much time on the internet or the phone or a device. And we used to take away the device because you're spending too much time. So now we are saying to a child, hey, you can spend as much time now because it's school. And so we have to be clear in our messaging, and explain to children why we are taking changes in what we are doing. Because children are very concrete thinkers and they see things as they are. They don't know the reality and all that. So you need to explain that to children. As far as being home, you need to be prepared because for you, a lot of our children are doing schoolwork on the dining table or on a bed. And those things are not healthy in terms of the child's body because they might be small on a table, they might be big on a table. And so you need to be able to put a sponge behind the back to support. You need to make sure you are at a L position, meaning you're sitting and your foot is flat on the floor. If not for you, you want to ensure that your child is getting up regularly from an L position to an I position to help the muscles move throughout the day. You must be able to provide a nice environment, whatever that is for you. So you need to carve out a part of the house that can be used in whatever simple way for that child. As far as possible for you, I am advocating do not use speakers in the air. Sorry, do not use earbuds or earphones. I am advocating for parents to use speakers as far as humanly possible. Even if it means you rotate the earphone for your different children at certain times. Having those speakers in your ear all day can be dangerous. I am also asking outside of the regular scheduled breaks, allow children to get up, to flex, to do the wet noodle, to stretch. Those are important things. For zero, what we find happening is with school not in, children are not being able to take recess. They're not able to go outside and run and play. And so children are lacking in that area. So we need to encourage children to begin to do physical activities during the day, right? This year, we also have to be very careful in what we give them to eat. Eating is a critical part of this process. And so you want to ensure that your children may not be eating too much sweets or things that will make them lethargic or tired or lose focus and or concentration. So you need to be careful about the amount of fruit, vegetables, starches, meats, proteins, those things. Those are critical components. You need to be able to help a child understand routine. Routine is very important. I see some schools have children in some part of their school uniform getting into that routine. So you need to figure out what routine is important for you. You need to
Mr. Benjamin, sorry to interrupt you, but we just have a couple of minutes left. And I know that there's a lot of information that you could give us this morning.
Yes.
A lot. And I'm sure as we move along in future opportunities, we'll develop it further. But before we conclude, I just wanted to raise this issue with, like, my elder daughter showed me a communication she had with a friend who's a parent and so on. And the woman sounded overwhelmed. She sounded like and I could understand, when you feel that there's you don't know what to do next because you're overwhelmed by this situation. And in a time, it's very difficult to think straight, clarity and calmness and so on. In the little time that we have available, what would you say to anyone, parent, child, teacher, who feels overwhelmed by this situation?
For you, that conversation has been all over. I get it every single day, including my sister, who is managing my nephew and my niece. They are overwhelmed. People are saying that they're in school. But for zero, let me tell you something. That is why I'm saying you have to take time. This is not a race. You have to take time, be patient, be kind. But for zero, beyond that, I am asking schools to provide support groups. I am asking people to develop support groups. We at the Center for Human Development is in communication with a number of schools to provide support groups to parent, teachers, and the students. It is important that we give parents a platform so that they will be able to speak about how they feel, what are the things that are bothering them, the level of frustration. We are asking that employers be understanding of what is going on, because all of us, all these parents, teachers, they are frustrated. They are frustrated, magnified. And therefore, for you, we have to begin to build in to the system a level of support network and systems that can support teachers, parents, and children, because they have been reaching out. Schools need to provide that EAP, employees assistance, for their teachers. The Ministry of Education need to do more in terms of support, not just about curriculum and delivery, but about my mental health, my stress level. right? You see it coming out in the Zoom classes. You see it coming out in the communication.
Mr.
I am
Benjamin.
asking churches to also provide a level of support system for their members, right? Talk about providing electronics, provide teachers, tutors. You're home, you're not doing anything. Can you tutor a child who is home alone? I mean, we can do it for you. This is strange times. And these times are calling for all of us to put in our part. And that is why I have a training coming up for you that is dealing with serious emotional disturbances, because students are not in school to get the guidance counselors, the social workers, the psychologists. So we have to equip our parents with the tools that they need to provide the support for their child.
Mr. Benjamin, sorry to interrupt you, but time is running out on us, but we have to leave it there for the moment. But indeed,
always a pleasure.
We really appreciate your ability to really encapsulate all of these issues and challenges, and thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us once again. Hanif Benjamin, clinical traumatologist, here with us, talking about the challenges of this online learning that we have to deal with. It's COVID-19. Well, as we go to the break, here are a couple images as we head away. It's a jetty at Buko Beach in the Sister Isle. And now here's another one. This time, it's a sunset captured at the foreshore of the Audrey Jeffers Highway in northwest Port of Spain. 7:26, we'll be back right after this.